The year was 1518, and Strasbourg, a bustling city in the Roman Empire, was about to witness an event that defied logic and baffled historians for centuries to come. It began innocuously enough. During a hot July day, Frau Troffea, a seemingly ordinary woman, stepped into the heart of Strasbourg and began to dance. There was no music, no festival, just an inexplicable, fervent movement that drew the curious gaze of passers-by. But rather than being a fleeting spectacle, Frau Troffea's dance persisted, lasting hours, then days. And with each relentless day, a peculiar phenomenon ensued. By the end of a week, over 30 people had joined her in this frenetic, unstoppable dance. One of the most striking aspects of this outbreak was the sheer compulsion of the participants. Men and women, young and old, were caught in the grips of a relentless urge to move their bodies without rest. The dancers showed distressing signs of exhaustion, collapsing from the intense physical exertion, only to rise and begin again. As days turned into weeks, the curious spectacle turned dire. Despite the local authorities' attempts to provide remedies like increasing music to satisfy the supposed craving, the number of participants swelled, reaching hundreds. This was no longer a harmless bout of hysterical dancing. It was becoming a deadly affliction. The significance of this event cannot be overstated. It was an eerie reflection of how, historically, mass hysteria can sweep through communities. In a place where strong religious and superstitious beliefs interwove with daily life, the dancing plague played on fears and anxieties like a haunting melody. Theories abound, ranging from a mass poisoning due to ergot fungi, which induces convulsive psychosis, to psychological explanations like collective stress and the monopolizing fear of the divine. Such speculation only deepens the intrigue surrounding this extraordinary episode. Among the contemporary opinions, there was a belief that these events were a form of penance, a fructification of the town's sins manifesting through enduring torment. Others considered it a divine punishment or a curse that needed appeasement, often exacerbating the hysteria rather than alleviating it. Critics might point to suggestible crowds, fed by mounting dread, that created an escalating cycle of participation, yet the true cause remains elusive. The dancing plague of 1518 serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay between human psychology and societal pressures. Seen as an isolated instance of mass hysteria, it connects to deeper themes of human behavior, the impacts of collective belief systems, and the social constructs of medieval Europe, illuminating the fine line between faith and fear. The peculiar and tragic episode known as the Dancing Plague of 1518 unfolded in the vibrant yet troubled city of Strasbourg, situated in what is now modern-day France. At the time, Strasbourg was a bustling hub of trade and culture, nestled along the strategic Rhine River. The city's rich tapestry was woven with the threads of a burgeoning Renaissance, as new ideas emerged from the mire of medieval dogma. However, this period was equally marked by strife and hardship for many of its inhabitants. The early 16th century was an era of significant upheaval for Strasbourg. The city, part of the Holy Roman Empire, was grappling with the challenges of rapid population growth. This boom led to overcrowding, which in turn strained resources to their limits. This pressure was exacerbated by a succession of hoes and poor harvests, leading to widespread famine and suffering among the lower classes. The specter of starvation loomed large in the lives of the common folk, adding stress to already precarious existences. Moreover, a series of political and religious tensions brewed across Europe, and Strasbourg was no exception. The early stages of the Protestant Reformation were beginning to take hold, challenging the authority of the Catholic Church and unsettling traditional norms. This tectonic shift in belief systems caused ideological divisions and contributed to social instability, as citizens were caught in the crossfire of ideological shifts. The period was characterized by an unsettling blend of fear and fascination with the supernatural, further fueled by the Church's teachings on sin and salvation. Against this backdrop of hardship and uncertainty, the residents of Strasbourg were plagued by what seemed an endless series of adversities. Psychological strain undoubtedly permeated the community, creating an environment ripe for outbreaks of collective hysteria. It was within this climate of uncertainty and social stress that the dancing plague emerged, defying rational explanation. The outbreak saw dozens of people inexplicably compelled to dance for days on end, seemingly unable to stop, leading to exhaustion, injury, and even death. This extraordinary event can be viewed as a manifestation of the despair and instability of the times. Yet, it highlighted not only the incredible vulnerability of human psychology under stress, but also how community crises can reflect wider historical tensions and anxieties. Understanding the specific historical context of Strasbourg in 1518 provides a lens to reassess how such bizarre occurrences could transpire, reminding us of the profound interplay between socioeconomic conditions and human behavior amidst adversity. The dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most perplexing epidemiological events, where dancing could lead participants to exhaustion or even death. The phenomenon erupted in July of that year in Strasbourg, a part of the Holy Roman Empire in what is now France, when Frau Troffea unexpectedly took to frenzied dancing in the street. Her movements, uncontrolled and ceaseless, quickly caught the attention of townsfolk, as her dance, a blend of desperation and compulsion, lasted for days. Spectators were initially intrigued, perhaps even entertained, but amusement transformed into concern as Troffea was soon joined by others. The compulsion to dance spread rapidly, with records indicating that over 400 people were swept up in the hysteria. Participants exhibited similar signs: relentless airborne gestures and swift footwork, often accompanied by grimaces of pain, fatigue, and apparent psychological distress. Despite obvious signs of their deteriorating physical states, dancers seemed unable to stop, and attempts to compel them to reason were futile. The psychological state of these dancers presents a grim picture. They were caught in a trance-like condition, their bodies seemingly disconnected from conscious control, pushing boundaries of human endurance. Such exertion often led to grim outcomes, including strokes, heart attacks, or complete physical collapse. Witness accounts and entries from the period describe individuals collapsing from exhaustion only to rise again, propelled by a bizarre and involuntary rhythm. The scene spiraled rapidly, with townspeople left to grapple with not just mass participation, but growing anxiety over the inability to intervene effectively. Socio-political factors and cultural beliefs of the time played a significant role in exacerbating the spiral. Those affected were believed to be victims of divine wrath or demonic possession, leading authorities to organize efforts both spiritual and medical, though largely misguided by today's standards. Doctors, unable to classify or treat the unusual malady with contemporary medicine, assumed the dance was a natural disease caused by hot blood. Local authorities, in an attempt to counteract the supposed fever, turned to an unusual prescription: more dancing. Musicians were hired to encourage the dance in a controlled environment, envisioned as a purgative ritual. Yet this only exacerbated the problem, cementing the spiral of compulsion and suffering. Alternative viewpoints suggest the outbreak was a form of psychological illness, possibly triggered by stress, famine, or the collective animus of societal hardship. Disturbingly, the dancing fever is interlinked with other facets of life in 1518, underlining the desperation and superstition that pervaded in face of calamity. Though seemingly distant and extraordinary now, the dancing plague compels us to reflect on human psychology, our reaction to extreme stress, and how communities address phenomena beyond immediate comprehension, echoing lessons about shared human vulnerability and resilience amidst the unknown. The dancing plague of 1518 in Strasbourg was not just a bizarre historical event, but also an intriguing glimpse into community dynamics and early medical understanding. When dozens of citizens began compulsively dancing, the local community was at a loss for explanations, yet they did not remain inactive. Initial responses were fueled by a mix of practicality and superstition. Town leaders believed the bizarre affliction was due to a curse or divine punishment. As a response, they organized communal environments like halls and marketplaces, and even hired musicians to accompany the afflicted dancers, believing this would somehow help them dance off the fever. Ironically, such measures likely exacerbated the situation. The community also turned to religion, as was common in the early 16th century, conducting public prayers and pilgrimages to beseech divine intervention. This reflects the era's prevalent belief in mystical explanations for unexplained events. The Church wielded immense influence, often interpreting public health crises through a religious lens. The reliance on religion speaks volumes about the societal frameworks and the limited understanding of medical science during that period. Meanwhile, contemporaneous medical theories were primitive by modern standards. Physicians of the time, influenced by humoral theory, posited that the dancers suffered from an imbalance of bodily fluids, particularly an excess of blood. As a remedy, bloodletting was prescribed, a common practice believed to restore balance and health. There are intriguing alternative theories regarding the dancing mania, like ergot poisoning, caused by a toxic fungus found in damp rye, which contains chemicals similar to LSD and could induce convulsions or hallucinations. However, this theory is debated as it doesn't fully explain the organized and prolonged nature of the episodes. Others suggest mass hysteria or collective stress-induced psychosis, prompted by extreme hardships like famine, disease, and economic downturns, might have pushed the beleaguered masses into this psychogenic outbreak. This theory highlights how cultural and psychological factors, coupled with a lack of scientific understanding, could manifest in physical symptoms. It's a testament to the resilience and flaws of community efforts in the face of the unknown. Ultimately, this event underscores the deep connections between culture, health, and societal responses, revealing how past communities navigated crises with the limited tools at their disposal, while also drawing attention to the nascent intersections of mental health and societal stress.